we are going to talk about what we have been trying to do since several years, what we are still planning to do for the next year to come. That is as simple as infusing some form of intelligence. That could be human intelligence, could be technology intelligence, could be process intelligence into our supply chain. Because obviously, like Shabir mentioned, like he put it, we want to achieve better serving for our customer and patient. The presentation is about our journey, our learnings, what we've done well, what we have done less well, and then there is a deep dive of what we are doing exactly now with a part of this program that Marco will go into the detail that is called IOP, and he will explain more detail than me. A few words of introduction. I'm Alessandro Luca. I'm the technologist of the two of us. I've been working 20 years in Procter & Gamble, fast-moving consumer good, and more or less 15 years in pharma. And I'm the group CIO. Marco.
And Marco Duarte, since 10 years in Merck, led several transformations and now leading the transformation on introducing the new technology really on the supply chain and more to come after, and infusing a bit of strategy into it. I was a former consultant from McKinsey.
Very good, thanks. So let's go through the topics. So, like I said, the agenda is simple. I mean, I'll explain the macro vision, where we want to go, how we want to go, where we are today. We deep dive on the phase of today with IOP, Integrated Operation Planning. We explain what's changing and what's the value added of that piece. And then we want to close with some remarks, I mean, out of our learnings of several years of our journey. One marketing slide about Merck. So Merck Group is a German-based company. We have 70 billion market capitalization. We are fundamentally operating worldwide in every single country, 63,000 employees. It's a publicly listed company, privately owned, so it's 70-30. And what we claim ourselves as really a source of competitive advantage, but I think is a source of competitive advantage in every industry, is that we are a science and technology company. That means that the bioconvergence between science, so scientists, and technology is what makes industry progress. That is impossible to separate the two elements in today's world, like it's impossible to separate this presentation between what I'm going to talk about technologies and what Marco is going to talk about operation. It's really the combination of the two elements that will make progression in every single company. Now, when and where we started. So quite some years ago, when I was in fast-moving consumer good, and then I tried to trace back when it was 98, 99, so I can claim last century. And you know, when you talk about the last century, I mean, you look like a dinosaur on stage, because I mean, I told it to my son that I was talking about last century. He told me, I mean, what's this? Anyway, at that point in time, there was a product supply officer in Procter & Gamble called Keith Harrison, and he started of what he was saying as his vision. Let's take the real demand, wherever is the real demand from our customer. Let's focus on this with a smoothless information flow and product flow in order to better supply our customer. Let's forget the forecast. Let's really move to produce to demand. Of course, these were like I said, the 98, the technology was not there. People were not understanding the value of data, that Shabir mentioned it. The power of processes, planning system was not there. But the concept was already there. How do we leverage real-time information? How much we could gather at that time in order to produce to demand to gain competitive edge. That's where the journey started. That's where I started the journey. Then, like I said, I spent 20 years there. I moved to Merck, and that's where the journey started in Merck. The journey started in Merck much earlier for the people of Merck here in healthcare. By the way, we are talking about the Merck healthcare division. The division started more or less 7, 8 years ago when we start to nail down our vision. What would be really our vision to go? And our vision at that time, and still remains valid today with few changes, mainly driven for process technology, was, well, it's very simple. Demand should be automatically predicted without new human intervention. One of the measures that we put in place is that the number of interventions that the planner should do. So we try to limit every single intervention from the demand standpoint. How to do it? Obviously, capture machine advanced analytic. At that point was called advanced analytic. Today we would call AI-based model in a combination of sourcing the data, and that was the clear differentiation, sourcing the data from internal and external. And I think Shabir said it extremely right. I mean, the competitive advantage is really that I feed any type of system. And of course, the more the system gets fed from data, the more it's spun through the network, the higher is the capability of prediction. So that's the element of the demand. The element of supply is really what we call end-to-end supply management, or if you want today, we would call it network-to-network supply management. And it's really to having a sort of online synchronization in a control tower fashion across all the different elements of supply chain, across our manufacturing plant. We have more than 150 manufacturing plants around the world across the 3 sectors, and synchronize this in such a way that would really have an AI-based business information for the total network. And Marco will deep dive in what we are doing there for what concerns the networking of the plants and how do we want to leverage this piece of information. That's the vision. Obviously, as we all know, the vision looks beautiful on PowerPoint. I mean, on PowerPoint, everything looks amazing, fantastic, we love it, and so on and so forth. The journey is being quite difficult with up and down, and let's see where we started and where we are moving to. So we started, like I said, 6-7 years ago in the Merck healthcare sector, where really all the information was more or less scattered in different silos. We had different sources of information. Capabilities of technology was not yet there. At that point, we put in place a program that was called Let's Move Towards Self-Driving Supply Chain. Very catchy name, very sexy program. In reality was let's leverage the advantage of an advanced planning system in order to make sure that we could really plan better our supply chain. And that worked quite well. We established an advanced planning system. We progressed significantly in that area. I'll show you also what we obtained in terms of business impact. But that was not sufficient, obviously. An advanced planning system enabled to step change your supply chain planning capabilities, but doesn't give you the overall supply chain performance in a good way. This is where we move to the next step. The next step was natural evolution, that I'm sure a lot of you have done it, from S&OP to IBP, integrated business planning. The concept of one number, that in fast-moving consumer good in P&G was developed years ago. In pharma, at least in Merck at that time, was still new. Still were a lot of debates. Is my number from sales, my number from finance or supply chain right, and whatever. So we move on a process-based one number with one source of truth and really one integrated plan that will develop the moving forward. That also helped us quite a lot. And then we recognize, okay, that now we have a planning system working. We have everything synchronized. We have one number in terms of processes. What else could we do? And that's where we started working several years ago, but now we formalized in a program with IOP. We started working on the upstream element of the supply chain, the overall supply part in terms of all our manufacturing plant. And now we could get more real-time synchronized data across all the manufacturing plants, CMO, and so on and so forth. This is where we are today. And the future, it's really what Shabir envisioned in a certain way as network. What technology gives us, it's also a fact of collaborating across the company in this network-to-network supply network for the future. This is really what we want to do. That's why when Shabir, I remember, was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, he talked me about this idea. I said, it's fantastic. This is exactly where we have to go. This is exactly where the whole industry have to move. And this is exactly where the collaboration, the technology and the process merged together will make the difference for all of us. But now we have the technology, we have to go there also as a company. Where we are today in this journey. We completed the first 2 steps, like I said it before, and we are now working in detail in the IOP program that we're going to explain to you in a moment. The second question that I always get is that this is great, but what is the business value out of all this? Mainly my CEO keeps repeating that every single digital should have a business value associated to it. And I guess that's the same for all of us. We all know digital is great, AI is an hype, but at the end it's all about creating value for the business and serving better our patient. What we achieve in Merck Healthcare across the different phases of our program, the first phase, obviously, implementing an advanced planning system was all about eliminating loss in the overall planning, serving better the customer. There we had a dramatic improvement in terms of service. We moved from the 96% OTIF, more or less, in Merck Healthcare towards 99.9, sustainably. It's being sustained in the last 3, 4, 5 years, even across COVID. So very good improvement for the service standpoint. The second element, one number, the IBP point, it's all about inventory. Obviously, having one number, having everybody, sales, finance, supply chain, are working against an integrated plan, enables to eliminate the waste. And what is the waste in supply chain? Is inventory. That's where we get a significant reduction of our inventory. And now we are embarking in the part of IOP because believing in integrating all our operation planning at plant level and above will help us to reduce cost. And the last part of our journey will be really when we move to this network to network, is really the value creation in terms of sales, in terms of being able to capture every single opportunity for selling in a better way, supplying perfectly smoothless our supply chain. Having said that, now we'll go through the IOP part.
Thanks,
I give the
Alessandro.
word to Mark.
Yeah, and let me give you real life from the shop floor feeling of what it means to be at step 3. At step 3 means we went through the various step 1, step 2, we have the data, is integrated the supply chain. Unfortunately, we live in a world that is really volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. We need to take decision on supply chain very quickly. You know what is the average between a moment of disruption applying in the supply chain and the moment in which we are able to take decision? Minimum is 7 days, maximum is months. Why? Because we are struggling on predictivity. We are struggling on having transparency on what might happen in the next weeks, in the next month, in the next quarter. With step 3, we want to go there. We want to try to give instruments to our decision maker to really read the crystal ball, becoming predictive and saying, I expect this to happen, let me take advantage of it and let me take a decision before, right? So let me be very clear. Is it something that only Merck feel, or is an industry trend? It's an industry trend. 79% of the biggest supply chain organizations in the world are planning in the next 4 years to really introduce predictivity, better technology, better data to understand what is going to happen and take decision in advance. 50% of them are even thinking to change their internal decision-making process and role responsibility. They are thinking to change the way people interact with technology to take advantage of it. And even more importantly, every one of them believes that this is having P&L impact. Across the Fortune 500 company has been done a statistical analysis of what is the P&L impact on being able to be predictive. In average, it means a P&L 250 million euro per year better for the ones that are able to be predictive. Okay, I guess it's pretty intuitive. You are able to take a decision in advance, you are having P&L impact. Now, we translated for ourselves what it means to be predictive. We need to be extremely clear. We need to have a vision, as Alessandro said. And for us, this means get to a stage in which our decision-making on supply chain is able to be synchronized, data-driven, real-time, forward-looking, cross-function. I know. This might sound like a bunch of buzzwords, But behind each of them, there is a mini revolution. Synchronized means that every function in a supply chain has the same set of data and the same scenario in the same moment. And for many of you that are leading supply chain, you know how difficult it is to have different stakeholders having the same picture at the same moment. Data-driven, really using the data to take decision. Real-time or quasi-real-time means not waiting weeks before understanding what is the situation. Forward-looking, very interesting, seems another buzzword, but basically means having scenario. Being able to understand what is going to happen in 6, 12, 18 months on your supply chain. Cross-functional. Cross-functional means everyone in the organization taking a decision on the supply chain is able to understand the implication for the others. Someone in manufacturing understanding the implication for quality, someone in controlling understanding the implication for CO2 emission. Transformational in terms of even the way we act internally in a supply chain. Looks like science fiction, but actually this is a bit the image that I'm using some time to explain what we are trying to do. You might have seen the movie, Minority Report, right? With Tom Cruise getting a ball, being a policeman, a ball with a prediction of what is going to happen, a crime, and trying to act before, to avoid the crime. We're trying to do the same on supply chain. Getting the ball, the prediction, and say, this is going to happen, let me do something before. Now, I wanted to give you a bit of a flavor of what it means for an executive. Cannot give a demo of the platform we have, but very quickly build something quick and dirty for you, just to give you a flavor of what is that. Imagine, close your eyes maybe, or imagine to have something that is not a report, it's not a dashboard, dashboard are over, okay? That is predicting how your supply chain will evolve in future. The time scale is not the past, it's the future. Okay? So our prediction. Prediction for service level, for cost level, for inventory level, for quality, for CO2 emission, utilization of your supply chain. And through this, you can say, okay, I see that in 18 months, I will have a very bad service level. I will have a problem in 1 year and a half. Can I do something? Can I intervene like Tom Cruise before? And how do I do it? I do it. Can I have technology helping me to play with the parameters like a Rubik Cube? You might remember I'm 50, so I remember I was playing with the Rubik Cube, right? With the parameters to find the perfect match of the parameters in a way that actually my supply chain will work better. Can I do it? And if I find the right parameters, how my performance will evolve. I apply those parameters, boom, magically, wow. Now I have a scenario in which I'm able to catch my commitment to the CEO, to the patient, to the market. One of the examples I'm very often using is these 6 dimensions are almost like the 6 commitments that as an executive I can give on the way I lead my supply chain. Can I simulate if I'm able to stick to my commitment? And can I have a tool, a process, and people behaviors that are allowing for taking the decision in advance? So this is IOP. We are going live with this. We want to scale up. One of the challenge is being able to integrate the full network into it. I guess is a challenge that many of you have. However, it's not anymore science fiction. It's becoming reality. There are several lessons learned from this step. First, we do this for business impact, for use case. Alessandro already mentioned some of this. Qualitatively, what we are really targeting, several elements of business impact. I would say one is really attracting my attention, that is decision making. In the world we are in this moment, we cannot anymore afford to wait for weeks or days before taking a certain decision. The reactivity is over. We need to become predictive and going back to having the possibility with a finger click to understand what are my options in taking a decision. Can you imagine, especially in an industry like pharma industry, what it means being able to take a decision 3 months in advance for pharma is massive. But just for the closing this, I'm receiving a lot of pressure on being quick, on rolling this out, right? And this is my classic answer to everyone. Yeah, I'm sure that we can do quick, and you are overestimating the impact that we can get in the short, but I'm also sure that you are underestimating the impact on the long term. Are we ready as an industry to have tool, process, system, and behaviors that are allowing to achieve this? It's a big step. It's not only technology, it's a transformation. It's a business model transformation, I would say. Let me maybe go to the lesson learned. Should I start?
You start.
Okay. I guess the first one is exactly what I said. Don't look for silver bullet technology. It's extremely difficult to achieve it, and it's extremely difficult to fit a technology without thinking to what is the process and the system and the people behavior, okay? So as change management and people is crucial, and this is one of the main focus of my daily effort and what is keeping me awake every night.
Perhaps I can build on this, because you can imagine, like I said, I'm the technologist, so I'll provide the technology, I'm the service provider there. But you can imagine that explaining to the people in the organization that the dashboard that you've seen before is not the dashboard of what's happening, but it's the dashboard of what will happen. So then the head of operation tell us, so this is not what is the service today. No, this is what the service will be 9 months from now if you act on this lever and so on. This will be what will be the cost that you have in it. So it's a change in the people's mind to look forward rather than backward. That's why it's a significant step change on change people. Significant. The second point, I mean, I echo Shabir words. It's as simple as that. I mean, we can talk about the most beautiful Gen AI in the world. Steve Jobs could come back here. We have Sam Altman and whatever. The truth of the matter, no clean data, no value. The truth of the matter, the heroes in this history as the master data manager, so the guy that fixed it. Anyways, and then the third element, very much to our heart, is that, I mean, no companies are silos anymore. We already know that supply networks are becoming more and more complexity. Resilience is the key behavior of virtue of a supply chain. So really the collaboration across and beyond our single network will become the competitive advantage for the future.